My name is Tyler Naddick, and it was my absolute pleasure to nominate Kate Wright for the Freda Vickery Award from the Nova Scotia Council of Social Work. I just think it's the perfect fit, and when I read the criteria, it just really spoke to Kate's talents and skills. Kate is defined by the social justice focus, the imagination and creativity that she brings to her work and to everything she does. It's my view that in this moment, our world needs so many more people who can think, act, and create like Kate to build stronger communities and these contexts in which enduring, positive, strong community relationships can take place. That's what we're going to need in the world that we're building. And so I'm so happy, and it feels so right that the Nova Scotia Council chose to recognize her for her constant and energetic voluntary and professional work. Kate's volunteer commitments are truly astounding. She's a lieutenant with our local fire department. She's constantly volunteering with local organizations and is always lending a hand, whether it's community events or farmers market or more casual labor, casual work in our community, like welcoming new people and helping them find their homes here. Kate is just always lending a hand. But to me, one of the places that Kate's creativity shines just the brightest is in her work as a founding member and constant volunteer with Petite Queer Pride. In the space of just 4 years, Kate has worked with a core group of volunteers to steer that organization from its first ever Summer Pride Festival in 2022 into one that creates year-round events and programming. To say that Petite Queer Pride is a bit different than typical pride organizations, of which now there are many in every urban center, but to say that Petite Queer Pride is a bit different than a typical pride organization would be an understatement. You have to picture this scene in our rural community of 200 plus thematically and elaborately costumed queers and allies parading onto a rural highway armed with colorfully painted homemade puppets, signs, and props, and then emerging onto a sleepy beach to chant and cheer together before rushing into the water for a group swim. One of the things that immediately sets Petite Queer Pride apart is its vibrant and joyful aesthetic. As an accomplished and talented visual artist, Kate brings this joyful aesthetic to everything that she does. For 2 years, I've had the pleasure of working with Kate on a series of art builds for Petite Queer Pride. At Kate's initiative, we launched the art builds at our local community hall to provide a weekly community art space throughout the spring to build the sets and props and giant puppets for the July parades and festivals. So like, for example, last year there was a collectively built giant squid puppet, which was then eventually carried in the parades and through the events. The year before, an 8-foot hummingbird. But more importantly, the art builds provide this weekly social space where rural queers can connect. And at its inception, Kate and I had set a private goal when we were chatting of, say, maybe 10 to 12 participants in total per week. But we now regularly host upwards of 50 people each week in June. And that group includes toddlers, elementary school students, teens, and local elders of the community. To provide that space with a free meal and making art is just an incredible addition to our community. And they've become a key pillar of the events calendar, where many important new friendships and a thriving community of care and responsive, imaginative action has taken place. Kate's work as a social worker, community volunteer, and human being spans several other Keystone organizations, and she can't help but bring that empowerment and anti-oppression lens to everything that she does, because she carries it with her in her heart as a core value. Whether it's working the door at a dance, or volunteering at the Y, or serving her community in myriad other ways. Very few of Kate's peers come close to giving the amount of time she does give to her community. And in her work, she's making a difference in kids' lives, one person at a time. And that's because she truly believes in people, their inherent worth, and their capacity to be their best. And so I'm so pleased that the council decided to award Kate this year with the Freda Vickery Award. I think it is so well earned and deserved, and that was such a great choice. Thank you very much.
Hi there, my name is Kate Wright. I'm a social worker currently working with Nova Scotia Health, and I'm the recipient of the 2025 Freda Vickery Award. So I started my career in early childhood literacy, working with libraries and family literacy, and really had an opportunity to do a lot of my early community work with young kids. And since I, have started working with Nova Scotia Health, my practice area has been with teenagers. I also love community organizing. So a big part of the work I do is with an organization called Petite Queer Pride. I've been the organizer of art builds along with my creative collaborator, Tyler. And it's just been such a wonderful and humbling sort of experience in the community to see how people come out for that. So those are my main areas of work. I'm also a firefighter in Petite. Getting this award was a really meaningful experience for me. You know, we work every day in the field and don't necessarily hear all the time, you know, what the work has meant to people or to the community. So to be nominated for this award by a community member that I have collaborated with on so many programs, it just meant a lot to me. And also my workplace has been so amazing in supporting my involvement with Petite Queer Pride. You know, every year Nova Scotia Health is making sure that I can be involved as a part of my work. And I really appreciate the flexibility to do Pride work as part of my professional role. You know, it means a lot. Getting this award for me just means just a moment to reflect on what my professional practice has been in the last year and to think about some of the impacts, and it's really meaningful. I'd really like to thank my nominator, Tyler, who has just been such a amazing person to collaborate on some of the art projects we've done for Petite Queer Pride and the art builds. Tyler has just been so practically helpful and creative through that process. I'd like to thank my managers with Nova Scotia Health Authority, Joey Worthington and Carly Taggart. They've been a great source of support in my professional practice. And I'd like to thank my family, my mother, and my sister, Julia Wright. I would really encourage people to be vocal in their advocacy for rural 2S LGBTQIA plus youth, and to not be intimidated or afraid to speak out when there's comments made in your community or things going on that maybe we want to make sure our youth are feeling supported. You know, just being courageous, especially if you're a social worker, and being unafraid to speak out, because that is part of our mandate as professionals to advocate, to organize, and to speak out when things aren't right. So really using our professional platform to be the change we want to see in communities.
Hi everyone, my name is Jasmine Hochman. My pronouns are she, her. I am a registered social worker currently with the Nova Scotia Association of Black Social Workers. And I am thrilled that my friend, my colleague, one of my mentors, and someone who I just truly and deeply respect, Charnell Brooks, has won the Diane Keys Memorial Award. What can I say about Charnell? Well, she is someone who graciously gives back to her community truly putting her clients and her people first. She's always been someone that I can reach out to for support, that I can go to with questions. We're always sharing different stories and resources, and we've worked together over the years to support clients and to support the community. Charnell is just an incredible mentor. She is someone who I truly look up to, and I encourage anyone who's going through the social work program, especially if they're an individual of African descent, to connect with Charnell. She's always so happy to help out with her community and to help out with those in need. She's been working at Legal Aid for many, many years, and I know that she does such incredible work there. She is, a proud African Nova Scotian social worker, and I'm just so thrilled that she has been selected as the recipient of this award. I think it really speaks to her work and her dedication that she's done for the community, and she continues to do. So congratulations, Charnell. This is your flowers. You deserve it and so much more, and I'm just so happy for you.
Hi, my name is Charnell Brooks, and I want to say thank you. I am honored and I feel blessed to be the recipient of the Diane Memorial Award. I have been a practicing social worker for over 10 years, and I cannot see myself doing anything else. I am currently employed with Nova Scotia Legal Aid as their first and only African Nova Scotia social worker. I love being a social worker. I love helping people. I love supporting people. I love advocating for those who cannot advocate for themselves. And mostly, I love showing people that they have their own inner strength. I want to thank Jasmine Hochman for nominating me for this award. I want to thank my friends who have supported me through my educational journey, and also my other fellow social workers who know how difficult the job can be but show up every day with passion. I want to thank my family for the support they have shown me, and I want to dedicate this award to my dad, who passed away in 2002, but who also taught me the importance of being authentic and being myself, and who provided me the foundation to be the woman that I am today. Thank you.
I was honored to nominate Megan Power for the David William Connors Memorial Award, and I'm so happy that she's this year's recipient. My name's Joelle, and I'm a foster caregiver, and that's how I met Megan. She was the children and care social worker for one of the kids in my care. Over the years as a foster caregiver, I've worked with a lot of different children and care social workers, sometimes as many as 4 for a single child. And I have a lot of respect for the demands of frontline child protection work. With that said, I can say with absolute sincerity that I've never worked with a social worker like Megan before. She is exceptional in ways that directly reflect the values this award seeks to honor: respect, empathy, dignity, and a profound belief in the worth of every child. What distinguishes Megan is her consistent, unwavering ethical practice. She goes beyond the call of duty in quiet, steady, and impactful ways. She follows through on everything she commits to. She's proactive rather than reactive, which is so hard to do in this system. She doesn't need to be chased, reminded, or managed. She communicates clearly, shows up when she says she will, and always follows up. Her reliability alone brings an immense sense of safety and stability to a system that too often feels uncertain for children and caregivers alike. She is the living embodiment of the question, what is in the best interest of this child? Megan's practices reflect a deep belief in the inherent dignity and worth of every young person that comes across her desk, so to say. She advocates relentlessly. She did that for us with our foster child. She helped us navigate complex systems. She cut through red tape. She worked around structural barriers to ensure that the child is not lost to process or bureaucracy. Her advocacy is calm, competent, and unwavering. Child protection is a system that is chronically under-resourced, and I would say purposefully under-resourced, and children in care live with the consequences of that reality every day. What Megan demonstrates through her practice is that lasting change is possible when a social worker refuses to let the system's limitation define the quality of care a child receives. She works within the constraints of the system while never allowing those constraints to erode her ethical commitments to the children and youth that she serves. Megan embodies the gentle strength, professionalism, and compassion that David William Connors was remembered for. She brings both heart and precision to her work, and her presence makes a tangible difference not only for caregivers, but most importantly, for the children whose lives and futures are shaped by the care they receive when they are children in the care of the minister. Megan Power should not be the exception to child protection social work. She should be the benchmark. For her dedication to direct practice with children and youth, her unwavering advocacy, and her embodiment of respect, empathy, and dignity in all aspects of her work, she is so profoundly deserving of the David William Connors Memorial Award.
Hi, I'm Megan Power. I work as a children and care social worker within the Department of Opportunities and Social Development. I've been with the department for the last 10 years and have worked in various roles, such as assessment and ongoing services. Approximately 5 years ago, I moved into the children and care role. I focus on creating and maintaining child-centered care plans, addressing health, education, emotional needs, and permanency goals for children and youth. I was drawn to the social work profession because it offers a unique opportunity to create meaningful, lasting change in the lives of individuals and families, especially children. Supporting children who have experienced trauma, instability, and adversity is one of the most impactful contributions a person can make. The idea of being someone who can help ensure a child's safety, stability, and sense of belonging is what pulled me towards this profession. I feel honored to receive the David William Connors Award in recognition of the work that I do, not only for myself, but for those social workers who are working within child and family well-being. These social workers step into some of the most difficult situations with compassion and strength, and often their work goes unseen. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Karen Nichols, and I work in our community supporting mental health and gender-based violence initiatives. And I'm really honored to share a few words today about Seana Dewar and her work with Roots of Hope here in Nova Scotia. Now, my first experience with Seana was, I think back in 2021 when I joined the Canadian Mental Health Association Nova Scotia division as the executive director. I was super green to the sector, and I always remember Seana and how she took the time to ensure I really understood the nuances of community-based mental health work. She was so kind and so considerate of meeting me where I was on that particular learning journey. And back then, she was an educator, and this is a theme that continues in her good work throughout the province today. At the heart of this work is a strong belief that suicide prevention really needs to reside in the community. It's got to be community-led and grounded in real relationships. And Seana spent years working alongside rural and underserved communities, building trust and supporting people to shape the responses that reflect their own realities and their own strengths. A lot of this work is really happens sort of quietly behind the scenes, and that's kind of Seana's MO. But it has a really lasting impact in strengthening the local capacity and connection of all of our communities. Seana's work has also been the launch pad of many other ripples for impact, including groups like the Nova Scotia Moms. I don't know if you've heard of them, the Nova Scotia Moms for Compassionate and Collaborative Mental Health Care. You should check them out on Facebook. They are a force, and they initially came together through a shared experience of losing a loved one, family member, to suicide. And they've come together to advocate for policy change. And this was started with a seed that Seana planted in her community work in the early days of Roots for Hope. So you can just see what happens when you do things well and with care and consideration. Seana also brings a strong commitment to research-informed practices, and she helps build the gap between like the evidence and what it actually looks like on the ground. Whether it's through the tools or the conversations or the community engagement, she makes sure that suicide prevention efforts are not only evidence-based, but also accessible and culturally relevant. And another big part of her work that I appreciate is creating spaces where people can come together. Things like learning circles and community tables and networks that include people with lived experience and service providers, as well as community members, all to become educated, to talk, to share, and to solve problems that reside within those communities. These spaces help reduce stigma, and they build understanding, and they foster a sense of shared support and resilience. Shauna is also a very thoughtful and consistent advocate. She lifts up rural voices, she highlights the gaps in services, and she pushes for more compassionate upstream approaches to prevention. Everything she does is grounded in dignity, care, and a deep commitment to equity. So overall, Shauna really embodies what this award stands for: prevention, community, and holistic care. Her work has strengthened communities across this province and helped shift the conversation towards hope and connection. And I'm so proud to support her nomination for the Ronald Stratford Memorial Award. Congratulations, Shauna. So well deserved.
Hi, my name is Shauna Jura, and I am the recipient of the 2025 Ronald Stratford Memorial Award. I am deeply honored to receive this recognition from the Nova Scotia College of Social Workers, an organization that continues to champion the importance of social justice, advocacy, and community in shaping the work we do. For the past 7 years, I've been working in the area of suicide prevention. Most recently, I've had the privilege of working with Nova Scotia Health to lead Roots of Hope initiative. This work focuses on building community capacity to support those that are thinking about suicide and those grieving from suicide. Taking a community approach means stepping outside of traditional political spaces and asking an important question. How do we support people in community when life does not feel like worth living anymore? It means recognizing that care doesn't only happen in offices or hospitals, it happens in conversations, in relationships, and in communities. At the heart of this work is stigma reduction. We do this by increasing public awareness, offering training and education, developing specialized supports, working to reduce lethal means, and contributing to community-based suicide prevention research. It's complex, it's challenging work, and it's deeply human. Receiving this award means a great deal to me because it reflects something I strongly believe in. We all have a role to play in suicide prevention. Depathologizing suicide is critical if we want to create spaces where people who are struggling can be met with compassion, dignity, and with care. When we move away from judgment and towards understanding, we open the door for a real connection, and that connection is life-saving. The Nova Scotia College of Social Workers have played an important role in advancing this perspective. By creating spaces for us to understand how we can better support people with thoughts of suicide and those grieving, we learn about the social and economic impacts that have shaped people's lives. And the college helps guide us in how we can show up for each other, not just as professionals, but in communities. This award affirms that this work, community-driven, relationship-focused, and grounded in compassion, is meaningful and impactful. There are many people that I would like to thank. First, I'd like to thank Carn Nichols for nominating me for this award. Your support means so much. When I began this work with Roots of Hope in 2021, we were in the throes of the COVID-19 pandemic. We were still masking, meeting virtually, and quite honestly, people were exhausted. It wasn't the ideal time to start a new initiative, especially one that's so stigmatized like suicide prevention. What I found, however, was that when the people who were showing up to do this work were people who were deeply connected to suicide. They brought their ideas, passions, and a clear sense of what they wanted to do. Together, we have been working to get to learn, adapt, and build something meaningful. From hosting World Suicide Prevention Day events, to becoming trainers in suicide prevention workshops, to creating resources to help those that are grieving and those who are experiencing their darkest days. I want to thank all of the community organizations who have partnered with me during this time. Your willingness to be collaborative and to act has allowed us to move forward with these ideas in ways that would not have been possible with just myself. I also want to acknowledge my colleagues, managers, and directors at Nova Scotia Health. There's a limited amount of research in community suicide prevention, and that can make innovation feel really risky. Thank you for trusting me, for supporting new ideas, and allowing space to think differently and try out something that is outside the box. And finally, I want to thank my 2 socially just-minded teenagers who challenge me every day to think more critically and to continue working towards a better world. You keep me grounded, inspired, and accountable. I'd like to end with a call to action 3 simple but important reminders. First, I want to recognize that everyone here is already doing suicide prevention work. Every day in your work, you are helping people build lives that are meaningful to them. Please keep doing what you're doing. It means more than you know. Second, think critically. Question why things are the way they are. Be curious, be courageous, and push yourself to learn how we can do things better for individuals, for families, and for communities. And lastly, you may not always feel like you're in a position of power or that your work creates change in a larger scale, but every decision you make, every interaction you have helps define what it means to be a social worker. And that designation is powerful. Thank you for this honor, and thank you for the work that you do each day.
Hi there, my name is Tyler Colburn. I am the Professional Development Consultant with the Nova Scotia College of Social Workers, and I, on behalf of the Nova Scotia College of Social Workers Council and staff, submitted a nomination for Winnie Grant to receive the CASW Distinguished Service Award for 2026. It was a real privilege to be able to do it, and I have known Winnie only for a few years, probably since 2022, when she was the field practicum educator for a practicum student I was supervising in a nonprofit that I was leading at the time. And right away, I got to see and have a glimpse to Winnie's brilliance and expertise and compassion and empathy and just love for social work practice and for social justice. And since that time, I've got to know her as a bit of a legend. Here at the College of Social Workers, Winnie is well known for contributing to the advancements of social justice, especially for African Nova Scotians in this province, but also for being an exemplary leader in mentorship and supervision for social work practice. And she kind of upholds the standards and the vision of what we would see as someone who is an excellent leader and mentor, and has contributed to social work excellence and leadership in a variety of roles and opportunities in social development, within education, within our own community, within the college's work. And it's been a real privilege to be able to work with Winnie, and I look forward to continuing to learn from and with her. And I'm so grateful that I was able to nominate her and that she was successful in the nomination for the CASW Distinguished Service Award. Winnie, congratulations. I'm so grateful to know you and get to meet some of your family and see of the impact that you are all having. And this is a very well-deserved recognition for you, and you deserve so much more. Congratulations.
Hello, my name is Winnie Grant, and I am deeply honored to be the recipient of the Canadian Association of Social Workers Distinguished Service Award. It is hard to believe that my social work career began in 1992, 34 years ago. I am keenly aware that I stand on the shoulders of remarkable Black social workers who came before me and made powerful, lasting contributions to the social work profession. Throughout my career, I have held a wide range of roles, including employment counseling and various positions within the child and family well-being system, all while serving as a sessional instructor for approximately 25 years at the Halifax School of Social Work and mentoring social workers as they pursue licensure. Last year, I retired from government after 40 years of service, ending this chapter of my career as an executive director. I would like to sincerely thank Tyler for taking the time to submit my nomination. I also want to acknowledge my mother, who was my first mentor and who modeled a strong work ethic through her life. I thank my daughters, Kai-Asia and Kastiva, both who are social workers, for sharing their mother with the many communities I have been privileged to serve, and my husband, George, whose unwavering support continues to sustain my social work journey. The success and impact of my social work career would not have been possible without the commitment and support of members of my community, whose guidance, wisdom, and support continues to inspire meaningful change. Also, I want to acknowledge those colleagues and allies who provided anti-oppressive practice and were willing to disrupt the status quo. Although I am retired from government, the next chapter of my social work journey includes continuing as a sessional instructor at the Halifax School of Social Work and remaining actively engaged in serving community needs. However, most importantly, I will continue to joyfully embrace my role as a grandmother. I accept this award in recognition of the Black social workers who have paved the way and made it possible for me to achieve all that I have throughout my social work career. Thank you.